This
Okay.
conference will now be recorded.
Okay.
Okay. So currently I have stopped it, but okay, let me start it now. Okay, and I have also downloaded that key and converted it to PPK.
Okay.
So here is the file. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So to connect the server, my username will be EC2, right?
Yeah, easy type from user. So can you go back to AWS once again?
Yeah.
Uh, can you click on that in view inbound rules on below?
View.
Inbound rules on the security groups below. Here.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Can you click on the yeah, that one. Inbound. See, this is a problem. Now, the source where you're trying to access, right? You put some security group ID. Okay.
Uh, so this was the default which I had selected.
Okay. You have to change that actually. Click on
Okay.
edit.
Okay.
Instead of all traffic, put SH.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All traffic also should work, but here the in custom SG7A na remove that.
This one, right?
Yeah, completely remove.
Okay. 0
dot
dot.
that one. Select that one.
Okay.
Now click on the save.
Okay. So you're saying now I should be able to
Yeah.
do it, right?
Now try to access it. So you have created everything you have done correctly, but the when you try to access, right, so you have restricted to access the server only for from that particular security group.
Oh,
Your laptop is not part of that security group. That's the reason you are not able to access.
okay.
Change the
So,
public IP. It got changed, right?
yes, right. Oh, yes. Now it's fine. Yeah,
Right.
got
Okay.
it. Okay. So I will practice the rest of the what commands and
Okay.
all. Then, yeah. Now you can present your screen. Not a problem.
Okay. So let's start the session. Right. Uh, uh, what we done in yesterday's session, we have seen about how you need to execute the commands and all, and how you see the logs and all those things. Yes. Okay.
Right.
Now, hello.
Yeah, Gopal.
Okay. From today, what we're going to do is we're going to see how to write the shell scripts, how to execute the shell scripts, and uh, how you and moreover how you need to uh, perform different kind of advanced commands. Okay, how do you execute advanced commands like grep, awk, set. Okay, so we're going to see all those things now. When I want to write the script, okay, What is shell script basically? What does shell script do? Okay, so shell script is nothing but it just a simple. This is a simple set of commands which we execute one by one, right? So now, if you see now example, you want to fetch the logs, or maybe you want to delete the logs in a file. Let's take an example like this. You want to delete the logs in a file. Why you want to delete the logs? Because you are running an application in production. Okay, for every few days. Okay, for every few days, your logs are becoming full, right? So if your logs are becoming full, it has to do a log rotate, and then after a few days, it has to delete. After a few days, you don't require the old data, right? More than 15 days or 30 days, you don't require that kind of data. So what you do, you might delete the old data, or maybe if you think you don't require any log files, every day or every 2 days you can remove the complete data. But if you have hundreds of servers, going to hundreds of servers and removing the data is very difficult for you. Okay, then how do you gonna deal with that? Okay, so how do you gonna deal with these kind of scenarios? How means execute, instead of executing the commands one by one, so what I gonna do, the same commands I'm gonna write into a file. Okay, I'm gonna write into a file, and then I'm gonna execute. Okay, I'm gonna write it to a file and execute. That's what basically shell script gonna do. Okay, so putting all the Linux commands together and running is a shell script. That's it, nothing else. Okay, so moreover, in few things, if you have any commands, so you might need to you might need to put some logics, because simply writing a command and executing something got failed, it doesn't recognize, right? So you need to write some scripting. Okay, so first thing, when you want to write a shell script, okay, what you do, you could create a file with test demo.sh. First shell.sh. Okay, so I created a first shell.sh. So here, if you see here my screen, I have created with .sh extension. Okay, now open your first shell and start writing your script. Okay, now first line we will start with bin bash. Okay, so bin bash. So first line I start with the bin bash. So what this means? Okay, so what this means, let me explain you. Now when you try to execute a command, okay, so now I'm a root user, I'm trying to execute some command. Example, cat first.sh file. So when I execute a cat command inside the shell, I got the output. Cat is a command which reads the file, and the action has been performed for me. Cat has been performed for me. So now if you, okay, now we have a kernel, we have an operating system, and user. I'm the user. Okay, and OS is the operating system, and we have a kernel of the Linux. Now when you want to perform some kind of action, then I'm the user, I'm informing to this OS operating system is interacting with the kernel and getting the output for me. That means software is able to recognize my profile. Okay, software is able to recognize my user profile. Okay, and it was able to use my bash terminal. Okay, my profile dash is using my profile dash terminal, and in my dash terminal it has executed this command and it's getting the output. Okay, but what happens, when you try to okay, so now you see, cat etc password is a file which contains list of user details inside the Linux box. Okay, so this is a file which contains list of user details inside the Linux server. Now you can see these are the list of user details when the server. Now see here carefully. Okay, now root user, like at the end bin bash, it has a bash profile. Now if you see bin sbin no login, no login, no login, no login, shutdown, halt, no login, no login, no login. So if you see has, no one has the bash profile. Again only EC2 iPhone user has. Even Apache user which we installed yesterday, Apache software, it is also has no login software. That means if you are trying to execute, if you're trying to execute any script through third party user, example, now you want to execute this script through the Apache user. Okay, so when you ask Apache user to execute if you want execute through Apache user, then what happens, immediately it will get failed because it doesn't know, uh, because what happens, it doesn't have a proper this part, what do I say, uh, bash profile. That user doesn't have a bash profile to execute your command. That's the reason it will get failed. That's the reason when you write any shell, so you have to line start with bin bash, so any user can execute your scripts. If user doesn't have a bash profile also, script first line has a bash profile, so it uses this bash profile and it executes your script. Is it clear? Understood?
Yeah, Gopal.
Okay. So that's how it works. Now you can write down your things. Okay. Now what you want to do? Now I want to delete some log files. Example, cd var log. Okay, now if I do ls space minus ltr, so if I go to this path, there is some lost log in the file which is using some space, and the cloud init log files I using some space. I want to remove, I want to make these files as empty. Means I want to free some space in this server. As part of that, I want to remove the content inside the log file, but the log file should exist here. I want to just make empty, make 0 MB. Okay, so that means to save the space on the server. Okay, so to do that, okay, now what I do, okay, now so how basically which in which path the file is, cd var log. Okay, go to this path, and what you do here, execute a command to empty the content inside the log file. It's very simple. You What we do is we have to make sure we should not delete the file. Only the content inside the file should be removed. Okay, so to do that we use cat dev null greater than followed by your file name last log. Okay, so cat dev null, so what this does is it reads your complete log file and it does a null, means it deletes the dev null means it try to it try to replace with the empty content. Empty, it removes all the content inside the file. Okay, so this command does that one. Now I want to remove content inside log file, right? So this is the command it does. It goes to var log a script and it removes the log file. So once it's done, echo content inside the file has been removed. Okay, so content inside the file has been removed. This is a message I want to get it down. Okay, this is the output I need to see. Okay, now save the file. Okay, now what I do, I just go to execute my first shell. Okay, so to execute the script, dot slash is a command you need to execute. So if you have to execute from the path, you can give slash root slash first shell dot sh. That's also executes the script. Okay, now I enter the script. It got permission denied. So why it got permission denied? Can anyone tell me?
So it doesn't have the access to execute.
Exactly. It doesn't have the permission to execute the file. So chmod 755 first shell.sh. Now let me execute the same command. See, it has removed the content inside the file and the content inside the file has been removed. That's a message I got it. So now previously it has around 14 KB of content. Now it should be 0, right? This content should be 0. Okay, now last lot, right? You can see.
All right.
Sir, so basically shell is nothing but instead of executing few commands again and again manual by going there and executing manually on the server, so you create this kind of scripts and you execute the scripts. So script will take care of any kind of action. Okay, this is an example I given. So like installation of software, upgradation of software, configuration of files, anything it can be.
So during this, Gopal, one question. So when I'm writing any shell script, okay, so suppose somehow I want to write something as you have written, right? The content of the file has been deleted. Okay, so so like that, I want to write something which I need to save.
Save.
Yeah, so for example, there is a script which I am running weekly basis. Okay, and for some reason I want to track like what happened in my previous weeks. Okay, so suppose whether that file executed successfully or not, like that, maintaining the logs of my scripts, whether
Okay.
those are executed perfectly or not.
Okay.
Kind of,
Yeah.
yeah,
So in those scenarios, what happens, if you want to know whether your script has successfully executed, like how do we execute these kind of scripts? This output will define you whether your script has been executed successfully or not.
right.
See, example now, I'll make a small mistake here. I'll put some syntax error.
Mhm.
Now, you executed the script. See, command not found. Okay, so what
Right.
it says immediately, it says the command not found. That means your script has not executed properly,
Correct.
right? So commonly what we do is these kind of scenarios,
Mhm.
we execute these kind of scripts, regular scripts through
Mhm.
the cron tab. Okay, so through cron tab is nothing but instead of you coming and executing every time,
Mhm.
for Linux server will give the file name. Okay, this is a file, and
Mhm.
please execute this file for every day at evening 6 o'clock, or every day morning 6 o'clock, or at midnight only. So we give the time and we give the file name. So when you do that, so it keep on execute, and in the cron tab logs the data
Mhm.
gets stored.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Okay, so now when you want to see it like 2 days 3 days back whether it got executed, if you go to the current tab logs, you
Mhm.
see all the data there.
Okay, and that tab is nothing but a UI, or we have to do it through the
So
terminal window.
cron tab is the one which helps you to run something in the background inside the Linux server. Okay.
Okay.
So now you do cron tab -l, enter. See, no cron tab has been set.
Oh,
So
okay.
cron tab space -l means list the cron tabs which are being set on my server.
Okay.
So now I want to make this script to execute for every 5 minutes or something like that. So what I do, cron tab -e, E for edit. Okay,
Okay.
edit. Here you have to write down your cron tab.
Okay. So
Okay.
the kind of
So
scheduler.
sorry.
So a cron tab is nothing but it's a kind of scheduler which schedules a particular script, right?
Exactly. So now what you can do, you can set your commands, like what command you want to execute using cron tab, and what is the time you want to schedule. Okay, so now here we have completely we have 5 values, remember. Okay, so we have completely 5 values. First, okay, just a second. Yeah. Okay, so I just open a Google. So now you can see my screen. Okay, so this is a tutorial of cron tab, so where you can find a very good examples. I'll just explain now. Now see, now I said, okay, so 5 values followed by your command to execute. Okay, now what all these 5 values, each value defined like this. Now if you want to execute any job for every minute, okay, so for every minute you want to execute your job, then what you do, you mention like this, uh, star by 5 star slash root slash first shell dot sh. Okay, I want to execute my script for every 5 seconds. So star by 5 means for every 5 seconds execute means this, all the star means all means every day means take all the values star means. Okay, it takes only first value and it executes, it doesn't consider about the other values, because you say you take only first value, nothing to do with us. Okay, now first one defines the minutes, like for every 5 minutes I said, right? So first one defines the minutes, and second one defines the hours. Okay, so if you want to execute any job for every 1 hour, okay, so what you can do, you can simply write one for every 1 hour, right? So if you put star by one, star one, so for every 1 hour you want to execute a job, you can put like this. Okay, so now third value is nothing but it's a day of the month. Okay, day of the month means you have 31 days in a month, right? So which day you want to execute on sixth day something, or maybe eighth day, or maybe 10th day, or maybe 21st day. Every month 21st day you want to execute the job, then you can mention like this. Okay, if you mention 21, if you mention 6:30. Okay, so if you put like this, every month 23rd at morning 6:30 a.m. your jobs get executed.
Okay.
Okay, like this. Now if you want to execute 23rd day of at a particular month, okay, uh, in the month of June, on 23rd at 6:30 a.m. you want to execute a job, you have to put like this. Okay, so if you want to execute every month, it should be a star. Every month, if you want to execute your job on Monday, okay, so here the final one is the day of the month. Okay, so it starts with the Sunday is a 0. Okay, if I want to execute every month on Monday, so star means every. Okay, remember,
Okay.
every month on Monday, every month on 23rd. Okay, so it should be a Monday. Okay, you want to execute a job at 6:30. If you want to execute every job every month on Monday 6:30, you should mention like this. Okay, so this will execute your job every month. Okay, if you want to execute every like Monday to Friday. Okay, you want your job to execute to Monday to Friday, so what you can do, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Okay, it will be 5, 1 to 5. Okay, so 1 to 5, please execute my jobs every day at morning 6:30. If you want to run it evening, it should be 12 18 18:30. This will execute every day. Okay, example of these kind of scenarios you can put like this: every day you want to shut down your servers. Okay, so every Monday to Friday, every 6:30, evening 6:30, it has to run a command call shutdown. Okay, which will shut down your server. Okay, like
Okay.
this. So these are the cron tabs which you have to set on your Linux box. Okay, so what are the times you set? What happens? It gonna run your jobs. Clear?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So commonly in shell also what we do is we gonna set the scripts. What are the scripts it want to run regularly? Those jobs we set as a cron tabs inside a Linux box, and we save it so that the job will execute every time at a particular set of time. Okay, so that's what about cron tab -e we're gonna do. Now next thing, now going back to the shell. Okay, now see, let's take an example here. Okay, okay, now you can see here I'm executing three things. First of all, I'm going to var log and I'm deleting the content inside the last log, and I'm going to the etc.id and restarting my Apache services. After restarting the service, again I'm going to back to var log and I'm removing the content inside the message file. Okay, example, you have a script like this. Okay, so okay, you may get doubt why you written why you go into the bar and execute second, but the same command you can put here, right? So we can put, I just want to show you some example. Now you have a scenario something like this. So you are using some values again and again. Like see, a path called var log you are using again, and you are using first time in the first line, and again if we are going coming down you are using again. Means some content you are keep on rewriting. Tomorrow the log path has been changed. Again you have to open your file and you have to uh, and you have to make changes in all these places, right? So which is a very bad idea. So instead of doing that, what you can do is you can define the variables in the shell. Okay, so what I do, I put path is equal to var log. Okay, path is equal to var log. Wherever you want to have your var log details, mention like path. So what happens, it takes var log file from the path. Okay, so dollar, okay, to define a variable, a name is equal to value, and if you want to read this value, when you wherever you want to pass this wherever you want to pass this value, you read this variable. To read a variable, it should be a dollar followed by your variable name. So variable name can be written anything. Okay, so like this you can define your path of your files inside the server. Okay, so now I will save this file. Okay, and I just execute first.sh file. Just a second, not sure why it's saying cat command not found. Yeah, I got the thing. So we used a environment variable called path, right? So we should not use which doesn't has a bin bash. It doesn't belongs to bin bash, it seems. Okay, now I just changed this one. So I moved to file path. Okay, the variable name, previously we have the variable name like this, right? Okay, so we have the variable name called file path, right? So we should not use simply path, because this is a Linux some variable which is using in some contents, in some binary files. So it has, when you use a path file as a name, it has been recognized something else and it is failing. Okay, so the name. Okay, now what I've done is I just rename my variable name as file path. So variable name can be anything. but it should not be system variables of a Linux. Okay, you can put another. So I change it to file path. So cd file path and cd file path. Okay, now what I gonna do, dot first script dot sh, enter. Now content has been removed. Okay, now see the script got executed successfully. Now what I was trying to say here is, if you want to, if you are passing a value, means if you want to put some commands again and again, some path or some values, if you want to pass an again and again, so instead of passing again and again, what you can do is you can define a variables, and through the variables you need to pass the things. Clear? That's how you pass the variable. So can I pass the variables during the runtime? So see, this is a variable which I defined already in the shell script, but I want to pass during the runtime. Means while executing script, I want to give as an input to the script. Okay, now I don't know path. I don't know the path of the server. Okay, I don't know where the log files are present, but I written a script. Okay, I'm waiting for someone's input. Okay, client has changed the path of this two log files. Now I'm waiting for the client input uh, to get the log directory path. Okay, so what in those cases, what you can put $1. Okay, $1 and escape. Okay, and here while after executing script, you put a path like var log first shell space var / log. So you are giving whatever the input you are, after the shell, what are the first input you are giving, it will take as the first variable. If you give second something second value, okay, so demo, this is second value. If you give demo 1 2 3, this is third value, like this. So how many numbers you give, that many values. Okay, if you give var log, it goes and executes the script fine successfully. So when you give a var log, so where this var log passes, that var log replaces $1, because $1 means while executing a script, what is the first variable, what is the first value you have passed through the script, take that value as my first input. That's what you're trying to say. Okay, so cd file path, and the var log comes here. File path is called var log. Cd is equal file path. So it will replace with the var log. Var log. So instead of doing like this, you can do like this as well. It's up to you. You can mention directly here only $1. So $1 will also go to that path only. Okay, so cd $1 will take the var log, what are the first input you have given to your script. Clear? Now so let's see now. So here it should take var log, here also it takes a var log. See, without any error, the script has been passed. Clear how to pass the variables and how to execute the scripts. So now let's see an example like this. Okay, now I want to make this access log as empty. Okay, okay, so where is the access log? I'll file path. Okay, and here I'll put $2. Okay, see, otherwise we'll put here only na. Why to get much confused? $2. Let's remove this. Okay, so during the runtime, so last log is filed in some path, and $2 is present in the some path. Okay, let's put like this: $1 slash $2. I put like this. Okay, now see this. Okay, so where is last log present? Var log. Where is access log present? Under var log, under httpd it present, right? Now what I gonna do, I gonna execute scripts like this. Var log httpd. So my first input is var log. Okay, my second input is httpd. Okay, now I enter. Script has executed successfully with my input. Now let's see, my log files has been empty. Access dog, it's empty. See, previously it has some content, now it has become empty, means script has executed successfully. So let me re-explain. So what I done, I passed two values as an input. Okay, now see, when I first value what I passed, so $1 replaces with the var log. This is what it replaced and it executed. But how come this I given cd doll, I given var log, this is the first input. Okay, so after that first input, what I have done here, if you see here clearly, I put a slash in between $1 and $2. So slash comes here. Afterwards, $2, what is the input I given? HTTP. This is the value which will replace here. And inside this part I have my access log, so that it was able to find my access log file and it has removed the content. That's it. This is how variables will help you in real time scenario to instead of during the runtime, if you want to doesn't want to mention the file, so during the runtime also you can mention. Okay, if you are using same values and again, so you can replace the values with the variable inside the shell as well. Inside the shell only you can define a variable is equal to value, and that variable you can use multiple times in multiple places. Clear?
Yeah, Gopal.
Okay, so that's how works in the shell. Okay, so like that, for a shell you can keep on how many values you add it, so that many inputs it will take it like this. Okay, so that many number of times you have to define in your shell. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, up to $8 you can mention in the shell, up to $9.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah, Gopal.
yeah, now so that's about writing the shells and defining the variables. Okay, next thing. Okay, now in few scenarios, when I don't know during the execution of the script, I don't know the input. Okay, so during the execution of script I don't know what is the input, but after the executing the script it need to ask for the input. Hence it need to break in the middle, the script has to break in the middle, and it has to ask the input, okay, can you please enter the value. If I whatever the value I entered, it has to take that value. Okay, and it has to run my script. Okay, now let's do like this. Okay, so with bash echo enter value, you have entered this, enter the variable, do this, expect this is equal to L, sum is equal to this. Yeah, now see, so bin bash entered a variable and read is a command which will break your shell in the middle and it will ask for the input. Okay, so whatever the value you entered, read n will read the value and it will assign to n. So and one immediately it will say you have entered $n. $n means what are the value entered, that will replace the value with that is equal to n, right? So your example, you told n is equal to 10. So you have it says dollar, you have entered $n means 10. Again it asks one more variable and L is equal to expression 10 plus some value, and the total sum is this one. This is the output I need to give it. Okay, now let's do this. Okay, I just execute the script. I'm not providing any input. See, it enter a variable, so I'm telling 10. Okay, so you have entered 10 and asking one more variable, so I've entered 5. Okay, the sum is 10 plus 5, the sum is 15. Okay, how it has done? Read n is the one which will break your shell in the middle and it asks for the input. So what are the input you have given, it replaces with n. Similarly, it asking for one more variable called m, and it takes that value and it does the sum of two values and it gives the output. So this is an example how a script asks for the input inside the scripts, inside the middle of the scripts. Clear?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll just stop over here because it's a shell, right? So I don't want to move further. So let's catch up tomorrow and let's see more on the writing more shell scripting. So meanwhile, I'll just forward a document to you. So take the document and go through the documents and try to practice all these commands.
Okay.
Okay, so any
Yep.
doubts?
No, Gopal, so far, yeah, it's good. So now we have the server created and all. So maybe like we can practice over this weekend and come up.
Okay, so mostly tomorrow we'll complete with the shell scripting and all the basic things. Okay,
Okay.
from Monday we're gonna start with the AWS session. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much, Gopal.
All right. Thanks, Gopal.
Bye.
Bye.